A lot of times when you start moving up, you want to show that you're successful and you'll start purchasing more things, you'll get deeper in debt. And then once that starts to happen and you realize that you have to keep that job in order to maintain that lifestyle, it adds a
Mhm.
huge amount of pressure on you, not just from work, but in family life and everything. And one of the things that I found is a lot of people will delve so deep into work that they forget about their families. And when that starts to happen, the relationships start to crumble. The kids don't see you, and you think, especially from a male point of view, and I know this from experience, is that you think that being able to provide for the family is showing them love,
Mhm.
and they just want your time and attention. And so
Exactly.
you get caught up in that, and next thing you know, now you're on that hamster wheel, chasing that dollar, chasing that next promotion, and that fear is always going to be there. That if I make a mistake or if I don't get it right, how's that going to affect me in my livelihood?
Exactly. And it's important from the other side, being a leader, understanding that your people that work for you have personal lives. They have families at home. They have people who depend on them. And so there has to be a good work life balance. You have to understand that there are going to be times when somebody has a sick child and they need to stay home. And instead of making them feel guilty and horrible about that, you demonstrate a level of understanding. Wow, it must be hard, with you and your spouse both working and having the sick kid at home. It must be really difficult. And, let me know if you need anything. And, it's pretty much always lip service. It always was in the police department with my sergeant. She always said, "Hey, let me know if you need anything." And she was coming from a good place because she was an excellent leader. But what she was basically saying was, "I get it. I get that you have personal things that you have to take care of right now. I get that this is going on, and I just." This is my way of letting you know that I'm here for you, and if you need more time off, if you need more time to get things done, then you've got it. And that's what it meant to me. So it didn't necessarily mean, oh, hey, yeah, I have somebody coming by to drop off this. Can you drive to my house and take care of that? It's not necessarily that. It was just let me know if you need anything. In other words, I'm behind you. I've got your back. Take what you need to do for your family and take care of it. Otherwise, if you keep people from doing what they need to do outside of the job to take care of their family, to take care of themselves, it's going to impact your position at work because they're going to start screwing up on the job, and it's going to be because you're holding them to task here when their mind is really at home with something that they should be taking care of with their family. And so if you're a leader who can actually respect that, it's going to go a long way. Your people will feel indebted to you for allowing them to have that time to fix whatever needs to be fixed.
And you're going to find the ones who are trying to take advantage of it versus the ones who are genuine. And the ones who are trying to take advantage of it, they'll they, it'll come out. I always say the cream rises to the top, and everything else. You figure out what's going on and you deal with it. That's part of being a good leader or a good management position. Also, is knowing the people, knowing the players. You're a coach.
Hmm.
Know each one of the players on your team. Some people you can be hard with, and that's what they need and that's what they like. Other ones you're going to have to treat them with kick gloves because they're very sensitive. And knowing that, you know how to deal with each individual. One of the things I always uh, disliked about some leaders is if one person did something, they punish the whole group. Okay, so this
Hmm.
person always comes in late, so now everybody needs to be here at 7:30 or 7:45, and you need to be here, but you can't punch in until 7 to 8 o'clock. And I'm like, wait a minute, why are you punishing everybody for one person? Deal with that individual. If that's the case, deal with them, and then we'll move on because the rest of us are doing what's asked of us, and
Hmm.
we're responsible. Don't take everything out on everybody for one person's actions. Figure out how to deal with that situation.
We called that one size fits all leadership. In other
Mhm.
words, you didn't want to take the time to get to know each one of your people and what's going to speak to them and get them in a good place and a good mindset to do the right work for you. You just blasted them all for everything instead of going to that one person and having that hard conversation and leaving everybody else out of it to let them keep doing it on their own. And you create this culture where everybody then turns against you because they're all being blamed for the mistake of one person. Instead of you just calling out that one person, they all have to suffer for it. And that one size fits all management, it might be easier for the leader to do, because then they don't have to deal with all the emotional stuff that goes on with everybody else. But in the long run, that there's no long-term relationship built there. Those people are not going to go to bat for you. They're not going to work hard for you because you've not shown them any kind of respect. You've lumped them all together as one big group instead of individual people. When you have conversations with them and you make them feel like they're individual people who are important in their own right, you bring out a level of confidence in people that you won't see when you're doing the one size fits all model.
Yeah. Well, another thing that happened, especially in our world, if it happened enough times and you had a good leader, you had somebody that you knew uh, was firm but fair, you would deal with it. Everybody within the group would deal with it. And I know from a police perspective, we had one person that always showed up last to the calls, especially if it was a fight. And then as soon as everything was under control, they'd stir the pot. Yeah, you better be this way or that way, or next time we have to come out here. And I couldn't, none of us could stand that person. So it got to a point where nobody would even cover him on a call. They didn't want to cover him, and he realized that this wasn't the area for him, so he ended up getting a desk job, pushing paper, which was more in line with what he needed to do, because he wasn't the
Mhm.
right fit for the area that we worked in, where you had to count on your partner.
Right. Well, and it's kind of the responsibility of a leader to take care of that. But there are times when peer pressure from the group is what it takes. Or you have a leader that goes to a respected person on the group and says, hey, I've said something, but it needs to come from someone on the same level. And, would it be impossible for you to just kind of make a little suggestion to this person to maybe not do this? I was in that position. I had a leader that I respected, and we had one person on our group who we used to call him Trooper because all he wanted to do was run traffic. The problem was he did traffic every time he was going to a call. So meaning whoever he was supposed to be backing up, he was leaving them on their own because he was doing traffic on the way. And so finally I went to him and I said, you're going to get hung out to dry, because what you're doing by doing this is not going to be backup for everybody else, meaning everyone else is going to repay you in kind. And he was like, oh, no one ever said anything to him. The supervisor tried to talk to him, but evidently the message wasn't received. It was taken more of a smack in the face because you're not doing your job right, instead of understanding what the situation was. And, for me, I was like, you can find traffic all the time. You sit still in 5 minutes. If somebody's going to be going by doing something wrong, you don't need to do it every time you're going to a call. Unless the person is drunk or their driving is so egregious it's going to get somebody hurt, just let them go and go to the call. And so, you as a good leader, sometimes if there's a respected person in the group that can talk to this person on the same level, that might be the way you handle it. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it's a leader who demonstrates an understanding for what's happening, but also understands the best way to reach that person is not with them doing the confrontation. So once again, it's leadership by just being aware of the people who work under you, of their strengths, of their weaknesses, and promoting cohesiveness as a group and not pitting them against each other, because horrible leaders do that. They basically divide and conquer all their people, and they talk with one and blame another one for something. Then they talk with that one and blame the other one for this. And they have people, warring against each other all the time, because they basically create all that dissonance because it makes them feel like they're in control because everybody has to run to them. And that's a horrible way to lead. You want cohesiveness in your group. You want everybody to work together because, once again, that makes your life easier and it makes you look better.